Hey guys, this is game 2 of your scrim against Novasphere. I wanted to talk a little bit about the setup for the game before we get into the gameplay, like I did in the previous video. First off, I want to go over Renekton's runes. I think everything was typically just fine. Bad fucking clicks, I guess. Okay, take 2, take 3 on whatever bad fucking clicks I'm doing. My bad, GG's, ADC player, right? um, okay, so I would get with preferably Tristan on this one, because I've been seeing some professionals. If you want, you can go at like gamesoflegends.com, and then like go type in Renekton and like look at all the world class players and like try to find a pattern. Because I attempted, some of it made sense to me, but I don't want to like give out false information over things that I'm not like 100% certain on, right? Because like some people are taking like absorb life over triumph, and then instead of alacrity, they're taking legend haste, right? And that would make sense just because like whenever you're needing the CDR versus like needing that extra auto between like trade patterns or whatever, then I think that's just like 100% fine. Because in most games, like people fear the actual abilities from the Renekton rather than the autos. Um, Other than that, Resolve Tree secondary is perfectly fine. Second Wind is like 100% mandatory. It's just this second little bit that is a little like iffy, right? So there's like only really three choices that I've noticed, and it's going to be Overgrowth and Unflinching and Demolish. And so like Demolish would obviously be for lanes whenever you're actually like winning, or whatever. So like Poppy is like a really good like winning lane for Renekton. Um, Overgrowth is fine whenever you're needing to like make sure that all you can do realistically is just stay back and like farm. So probably fine whenever you're against like poke lanes or some like weird ass like Heimerdinger top, Quinn top, Kale top, things like that. Other than that, if you wanted to, into champions like Aatrox or like Cassante, even the Olaf for this game, you could take Unflinching because his Q does count as CC and he should be starting Q every single game. And like we can go off of that if we really, really wanted to. We would get the extra resistances and it would just feel really nice for our lane, right? And then after that, I'm skipping all the way down to Sivir, and it's kind of the same thing as the Yunara. Instead of Alacrity, you can take Bloodline. Bloodline's currently really strong. It just got buffed this last patch by an extra 20%. So that feels really good. And then Presence of Mind on Sivir over Triumph, just because we happen to be a mostly like a caster carry, just because we're just like spamming everything on the wave and just getting it shoved in, and we get first roam typically over most matchups. So that feels really good. That's why a lot of the times you're going to see people building into like Essence Reaver Novori into like IE or whatever, right? We just want to push, move, be there first, and then make sure we always have number advantage. And as long as we understand that, that's fine. I have been seeing a habit for you individually in your match history. You're going like Swifties on your Sivir. I would pivot that to Berserker Greaves, just because like you're passive every time you auto something, then you get the extra move speed, and then you get the extra attacks in, which is really good for our champion. And I just don't think we benefit too much from the move speed to actually like warrant it. Outside of that, if we happen to get feats of strength and we get the upgraded version, it's basically like Sivir passive, right? So like having two Sivir passives in our kit would be like fucking OP. um, and then I have to look at my boy Nunu. Sad to say, I think I gave him a little bit of a kudos in the last video, but then like this current one for game two, he like never picked up sweeper. That shows a little inconsistency in him, like for fundamentals. You just can't look at games and be, hey, I'm ahead, so I don't need sweeper. It's one of those things where like 9 times out of 10, it's better for they don't see the Nunu, so you make everyone on their enemy team fear the oh shit Nunu's here. It's just that fear factor you put into people, and like most junglers end up having that fear factor. It's not just to Nunu. It's like Nocturne not being on vision. He presses R, you don't know where the fuck he's going or where he could even go. So it's things like that. And I don't know, you're just being a dickhead about it. Going forward, we want to yap about our 5-point defense a little bit. Accidentally went like a hair too far forward. So at the start here, as Renekton is just chilling, I just want this to manual. As he's just kind of hanging out, he's chilling in this bush, and we're just doing our typical. We see the Olaf. It looks like he's coming, but instead of us like holding our ground, trying to figure out what this guy's going to do, we just like show on vision that like, hey, by the way, like I am here, and it shows that we're just 5-pointing, right? Because if you were stacked up with people, then you wouldn't like walk out of that bush, right? And there's no point in like realistically 5-pointing in a bush where Renekton's like walking out. So at this point we see Olaf walk across and we see Orianna walk up, and then Veigar is getting a little assistance from the Nunu, and then like all of a sudden Wukong walks up. Typically a lot of teams end up showing that they're going to either 5-point or they're going to play for like vision early, right? And since like we clearly can't contest 2v3, what our Renekton needs to do is whenever he saw Olaf like walking down, right? He's going towards his team. What Renekton needs to do is just like walk down and then just drop a ward like here. And this kind of helps out because like we know that Wukong really just has a preferred start at blue buff, right? Like Wukong wants to start blue into Gromp. And then after that he's gonna like continue down at a full clear for wolves and whatnot. And so like Renekton is allowed to walk down as long as Olaf is actually walking to help secure like vision, because currently what these guys need to do is actually like walk up and drop a ward like right along here, you know? And so like we see so much time that Olaf would have to cross that it's basically the same thing for Renekton, assuming he's not walking from like one bush to the next, right? Assuming he doesn't waste time like this, then he can walk down, drop a ward there, and then we see where Wukong's at, and we'll also get the respawn timers on these camps, and it helps out our jungle tracking from here on out, as long as we're fairly consistent with it. Otherwise, we're only going to get it for one full clear. And I feel like we just don't do that very well. For some reason, we just kind of chill. The second thing that I wanted to point out was actually here with the Leona. Leona ends up just standing here for a minute, sees where 3 people are, and goes, oh, okay, I'm going to play for this ward. And we could have had Sivir like walk up, that way Leona is being shadowed, and like Nunu is walking down to shadow the Leona, which appears to be the calm, right? But all that really needs to happen is like if Leona was attempting to dodge the stun, then like we wouldn't be here. But the griefing part is like dropping a ward and then we end up getting ignited on and we just flash. And so this was really bad for a few things, right? Because if we come over here and we swap vision to blue side, now they know at 113 where our Nunu's at, right? And it just shows him last going to his blue side jungle, and they've already got this warded over here because like we couldn't defend 2v3, right? And so now it shows for them that Nunu should be clearing his entire blue side up to his red side for top crab. And Wukong goes, okay, I'm going to clear from blue side down for bot crab. So we just, mirror each other more or less, right? And it's just uncontested, and everybody kind of just handshakes and moves on with their life. And it just feels really bad that we had to burn a flash to get out of here, and our grief also costed our jungler like where his start was, right off rip. And then going beyond this, I need to talk about Nunu's actual clear. We start the Q, which is extremely standard. It is like actual this. He uses Q, he keeps hitting this, he's dragging it, he's doing fine, he bites again, and now what needs to happen is he needs to smite this, level W, and then snowball into the Gromp, because he could be finished right now at like 145, 146, and then it's not until like right around like what is it, 157 that he ends up finishing his blue buff. And so since he's just now only finishing his blue buff, he should be currently like finishing his Gromp, give or take, and then like moving and dragging it up to his wolves, you know, because he should just easily be able to go like, oh, okay, well, I'm here, and then I drag this over, I killed it, and now I can kill this thing, and then I can drag this over, and then I could kill it like right along here, and then I can hit this buff and then drag it up and around and then kill it like right around here, you know. I don't know, I just feel like we're too inexperienced with the Nunu. I probably wouldn't pick this for you going forward in our actual league days, especially if it's going to be consistent like this. I just don't think it's going to be all that useful. And then it just feels really bad because then you continue forward doing a bunch of not so good shit. So we're already behind. We skip over wolves for some reason. I really don't know why. I watched this like 5 times and I can't figure it out. The only solution I can come up with is they boarded our raptors. You're fucking terrified. They're just counter jungling us and we're going to be down. But like, dipshit Leona decided that we're going to go up here and we're going to flash for this fucking level 1 ward. And like, we know that Wukong just hasn't showed here yet. And that like, I don't know what a level 2 Orianna is going to do. And like, we just have permavision down here because our bot lane is doing a fantastic job at getting their level prio and just shoving the wave forward. So we can have support and mid more or less in the vicinity to actually help the Nunu out. So all Nunu has to do is just take his wolves and then come down and then just take his entire fucking red side. Just start at here and then go down and then take red, and by this point like Wukong would have to cross. You don't have time to take Krugs because then bot lane can respond to you, and as long as they have numbers then it would just be sad. So you could just like snowball back all the way to top and take your red side, and then like Wukong would end up just being down 2 camps, and then like we would be up 2 camps, right? And then as long as we take this, and then we could take top crab or whatever, then we just tell our team, hey, I just need you guys to like play for this bot crab, and then I'll be level 6 for first drag, right? But none of that happens. It is very sad to me that like we're missing so much here. But yeah, I don't know. I actually can't believe we do this. So going forward on Nunu, whenever you're playing games, make sure you go QWE for the first 3 levels. And just as like a little like show and tell is by the time that our Nunu actually gets to his red, Wukong has already finished his wolves and he's currently crossing from his blue side to red side, which is pretty standard for just about most champs. So it's really sad that we're down an entire camp, you know? So this feels like really, really shitty. And afterwards we end up like ganking mid, we get the flash, it's fine. Doesn't really cost us too much to do so, at least health-wise, but like tempo-wise, like we're going to be down a level, and then us just like going towards our next camp. But unfortunately we never did that. We actually just reset. And so now we're down 2 camps, and in 10 seconds the crab is going to spawn, and then this guy is going to end up being up quite a bit. And so now he shows he's currently up 3 whole fucking camps. He's going to the crab, and then now he is hitting the crab, and like we haven't even hit another camp yet. So we're going to end up being down like 3.5 camps, where we could have been on par and or ahead if we played the map. But we can see how much room that you have to improve going forward, which is pretty good. It is always promising noticing that there is vast amounts of improvement. The other thing that I need to talk about is our Vigar's laning phase. He gets chunked out quite a bit, low on both resources of HP and mana. He doesn't have a whole lot to farm from afar, so he needs to just kind of chill and hang out. But if you're down so much, like, we see we can't poke, so Orianna's really under no threat, besides just, like, getting ganked from Nunu. And so, like, you see how far away, like, you end up getting, and, like, if you watch the XP bar, like, you end up not getting the experience like playing this far back, you know, because here it is again, and the minion dies, you get nothing. And like I get, sure, it might just be like 2 or 3 minions, but like from the little increment that I watched of your lane phase, it builds up from like this to you being down like an entire level, right? And if it's ever going to be consistent like this across like a large quantity of games, then that's a clear error in fundamentals that like we need to fix now, right? If it helps, I don't know if you have this on or not, but you need to go to like interface and go to experience and make sure you make it gold, that we can see whenever you get XP, and so you're able to stay in XP range relatively easily going forward. That way we avoid this being down an XP problem. After this, though, is we see the Wukong down here. He finished the bot crab. He is a little homeless because he's done everything the right way, and our jungler is kind of having to like contemplate life. But since he's mid, we tell our mid lane and bot lane, hey, we saw Wukong. He's bot river. We need to just chill on both sides and make sure we don't overplay anything very weird, right? And so that lets Nunu know that all he actually has to do is, instead of pathing to his Krugs for whatever reason, he needs to path to his Raptors into their Gromp, because we know how Wukong started his clear. And the same reason why we know where he's at, because like our Gromp is going to be more or less on the same timer that his Gromp will be. And so generally camps respawn around 420. So as long as we clear it and it is getting closer to 420, then we're close. But if we go to Krugs and then have to cross to Gromp, then we're like stupidly far down. And I think it's just much easier to play for our camp to give us time like what we want to do. And what ends up happening, like Wukong does show like on the map of like where we're at, and it gets really sad because we clear this and like we continue with some like fucking shit pathing. And we just like go from Krugs to Raptors instead of going to his Gromp, forcing this guy to be down. So currently we could be up, give or take like 3 to 4, maybe even 5 camps or whatever the math was. And we just are not. Instead, we're actually down on a faster clearing champion, which is insane to me that we managed to get this far down. And then the next little bit that I wanted to talk about was actually how we're handling this gank that we're going to be getting. And so like we can see that Nunu starts the channel, and so like Renekton really needs to just walk forward a little bit and making sure that like one, we just don't die, right? But if we comment, hey, there's a gank coming, then you don't need to dash there. We save the dash so we can play this out, right? If anything, just walk forward and hit him. He no longer has Q. If you hit and like press Q here, you're going to lifesteal. There's no world he can actually kill you. He doesn't have Ignite. He doesn't have Q. He can maybe just like auto E and kind of give you that little like slight burst, but you don't die here. At least you're gonna hold him here long enough for like Nunu to reliably get the snowball off, right? We just would walk up, hit our little buttons, and be able to smile and have fun. But we just didn't set it up very well. It ends up getting a little sad because we have to expend the flash to get the kill. The second thing of note is a fault for both the laner and the jungler. We need to calm that, like, as Renekton, hey, this guy teleported back into lane, and he's down TP. We can force this guy to miss, right? So what you would do is you would come over here and then Renekton say, hey, I have 1300 gold, I really want to reset, right? So the two of you guys could just come over here and then just help your Renekton shove wave so he can actively go forward and just reset. And since we did it at a very shit manner, this guy only misses 2 or 3 farm instead of just like shoving it in together and then making sure this guy misses an entire wave, you know? And then now it's a much slower reset for the Renekton as well, because now his minions are able to hit their minions, and whenever he could come back and play on this wave, then it would be fine, because he should be in lane by now. So we need to work on that. Mostly laners, junglers have a little bit of anxiety between like not wanting to fuck up their laners and them tilting, right? If the laner says, hey, green light, help me do this, then let's do that. And then after that, we need to establish a game plan. Actually, we'll talk about that right around here. Is we would be talking about it as we're shoving. Sorry, I had to read my next note. And so as this guy is resetting, Nunu needs to calm, hey, after I get to Fountain and leave, I am looking to clear my wolves into Gromp and then into Dragon, right? And then whenever I get to Gromp, then Nunu can either have Leona step off and hit the Scryers, and that way it can ward down, and then we can see like where they're at. And I think that would be like really helpful, because then we can conquer like setting up vision, we can deny vision, and then we can also like have a game plan going forward. So the bot lane knows how to play the lane, and it helps out really well because we end up like knowing that Jinx is a little fucked, right? Because as they're coming back into lane, like they see the Taric, so like what should be happening around this time is you could sorry, I talked about this before, but like you just have your Sivir drop her pink here, and then you drop either Leona pink here, or you could come forward and drop it either here or here. One of the two, right? You have your choices between like where to drop it, and because like right now, if we are looking to play for Dragon, this would be the game plan, especially as a team, because now Pink also happens to have a push going forward in the mid lane. So as he's pushing the wave out this way, then he would need to come down here and like either ward like right here, or he could ward like over this wall. Either or, that way we could end up just seeing like this entire like section more or less, so we know which way the Wukong would come from. And then assuming like Leona sets the pink here, then we end up establishing more or less a line going like this. That way Wukong would have to cross it, and the only way like we would never see him is actually coming for his Krugs and then up, right? That would be the only way that like we would never see him coming for Dragon. But we would have like a stupidly good line. Maybe Sivir would eventually get a ward and like drop it in their tribush, and like we could find him. But currently Taric's resetting. We're under no real threat. Sivir can walk up, get some solo XP, and then Wukong had to reset after bot lane, and then he had to go up to top side and like clear his way down towards this dragon. So yeah, we just did nothing really too proactive. Thankfully Pink does his job. God bless. God bless this man. Get this man a kiss on the forehead. Oh my god, I forgot about that. I don't know. Zombie really likes trading his flash for like everything under the sun. I like part of the initiative because he ends up like flashing to blow like the cleanse off of the Leona, so maybe he ends up like fucking her over for the drag fight that ends up like maybe happening in the future, right? Because now if their carry is down a flash, then they're probably less likely to do the dragon, at least in the higher levels of play, but they might just send it, just to send it, if it just looks even halfway fucking playable for them. But just know, a 5-minute cooldown for like their cleanse is typically never all that great. If you can just let them walk forward and then just like E and Q, and then she cleanses, then at least we have flash. Though none of that ended up really happening. And then we need to talk about what happens afterwards. Is as a bot lane, we end up being able to push the wave in a little bit. And so we end up poking, having our little fun, doing our little shenanigans. Now, the shenanigans I want to talk about is the fact that Nunu goes in here, and unfortunately, I believe Vigar never says, "Hey, I have no abilities. I can't do anything." So he ends up like pathing weird. He goes this way, and we can see Nunu went this way. Well, they end up having, you know, 1, 2. And we have the 1. So it feels very sad that ends up playing out this way. So we end up fucking the Nunu over more than he's already fucking himself over. So, because he ends up dying after this. And it just ends up being a little troll. Some saving grace is the bot lane like goes a massive fucking pair of balls and like yeets the fuck out of them. They're, you know, down like 95% of their HP bar. So all that needs to happen now is they don't have teleport, right? Their support doesn't have like unset spellbook, teleport into lane, catch the wave or whatever, and just hold it. So right now, what we need to do is realize that we have 2 waves building up, and we can make her miss these waves by coming forward and just blowing up the wave that's currently present. Because there's no world that Wukong's ever getting help from fucking Tweedledee and Tweedledum, right? We look at that, they just like, they can't. They walk up, they're dead. They're just going to give 600 gold to us. And so, knowing that, if Wukong decides to think he's fucking top dog, like, what happens when he just walks down and tries to 1v2 2 like full HP people? Like, look at that. Like, we've took an entire fight and have 100% of our HP bar on 2 people. All they would need to do is just walk up and either stop the Wukong or stop him from like killing us, or just stop him off the dragon. So now currently like the blue team can't do this. That's just done. Even though we've like already fucked up and killed our Nunu, if like that never happened and we just waited, low key, this should be our dragon. Easy timer. We would make them miss 1.5 waves bot. We would be able to turn around and just take this dragon, and like Wukong would just have to fuck off and go into his jungle, right? Unfortunately, miscommunication happened between jungle mid, and then we just kind of ended up fucking around. After this, though, we need to talking about like a little bit of setup. I swear to fucking God, I swear to God, I have talked about with this team that putting a pink here and a pink here doesn't matter, right? Like, if you want this shit gone, just come up and hit this. That way it sweeps like all of that, and like we're going to get the vision of it gone regardless, right? I just don't understand. Just go place your pink somewhere else so we can actually get some decent setup instead of having 2 pinks here and it only being for the bot lane. Like, get more information somewhere else. It's not that hard. We end up doing part of what I was saying is we get the decent shove. They start missing some minions. It ends up being really nice. And then some like little nitpicky things, right, is I imagine like neither player ended up looking at their mini-map or whatnot, but I don't know why Sivir placed their pink like, or their ward here, when we could have ended up just placing it like right around here. That way we're able to get the actual like river itself and been like far enough away from the pink, that way it's not going to be like cleared or whatever. If we were able to just chill and not drop our ward immediately on this dragon, like Sivir could just have like walked with the Leona, right? And seeing this ward is dying, Sivir could have just replaced it and like just slapped the ward down, and then just fuck off. Allowed the Leona to walk forward and get all the warding that she wants done, right? Because if we look, she ends up having like a single ward that she wants to slap down. And imagine a world where like we have a vision line of something along of like this, right? And so like this ends up being bot lane's safety line because we can see everything. And then eventually, like all Vigar ends up having to do is just drop a ward like right along here, because the only way that like Wukong could actually get in would be to like walk up with the wave, and then hopefully Orianna pushes it, and then he would just step over and then like W over the wall and then walk down, and then he could get the dragon if they know that you guys walked up. So a little inconsistent. Didn't really care too much for that. I am happy to see that we are taking advantage of these windows, though. That is always good. I will not complain too much about that. At least we did this, especially as a duo. That is also super, super nice to have. The next person I need to talk about is actually Renekton. Whenever we end up, like, we drop a ward there, which is fine. We're up a level. I see we're looking to fight. This guy doesn't want to drop his ult. We're making sure he can't pick it up. We've got the wave pushing in, which is pretty good. And so, like, now what needs to happen is realize, like, you need to make sure this walks in. And then, okay, it's too much. He could never actually hold it here, right? So all you need to do is come over here. Should be easier if I just do this. Is to just send your happy ass, oops, I guess let's be consistent, use our color, and just come down here and like drop a ward like in this cross, and then you can also just like hit this, and like that spawns static, right? It just never changes. So if we see this here as it's here, we can hit it and just get like massive amounts of vision onto both camps, and like we don't technically need the ward anymore. And like this guy Olaf is going to have to just stay for this wave. Otherwise, if he sacks it to try to come down and like Wukong wants to walk up and like maybe try to do some weird ass fight, then like he ends up losing a wave, and you know, it's more of a loss than a gain for him. And then we like didn't end up really doing any of that, which is kind of like the sad part. We did like little bits and pieces. We walked the wave in, we ended up grabbing the heal, and then like we just never hit the scryers. So that feels really sad. We didn't drop our extra ward down. We just walked across vision in the river, so they saw us go back up. They know that we didn't walk over and ward. We don't know where Wukong is. So it feels like a little bit of a, I don't know, we were just going to be late for like a single minion or something along those lines, and like we just put so much worry on it that we just didn't help our team out. Feels very solo queue style. If you really wanted to, you could have probably dropped your ward and then reset in the river, and then you could have just told bot lane to push in their wave, and then they could have just like pushed their wave in, walked top, and been here for top. That way we can go ahead and have a little bit of time to get people to their lanes, and then just have 4 top with both bot laners being top, Leona, Sivir, and then also the Vigar in mid and Nunu around us in the jungle, and then we could play for 4. They would have 2 to 3, and then like eventually we can have either the Renekton just teleport back top whenever we're readjusting lane assignments, or like he can reset with the Sivir and whatnot, and then just swap. I think that would be really easy, and if Olaf ends up staying, like, to be honest, we could just fucking kill him. We could just dive with, you know, Sivir, Leona, and Nunu. Would be super easy to do, especially if we just sent like a teleport from the Renekton bot all the way to top lane. I think that would be fine as well. No real reason not to abuse TP advantage whenever it's possible. And it just feels very sad that we did none of these choices. Instead we pop ult for ult, and then we end up just walking off. We get some vision finally into their jungle. I guess we realized a decent window for it. But like now, knowing that that guy had to back off, and like we've got a really strong laner, like I don't know why our jungler, instead of just saying, hey, by the way, I'm more than willing to go from red to Void Grubs, because this guy can't fight. If Wukong shows up, like, I will just fight him. We're 3v2. Like, look at this game state. There's no world that we ever not play this from fucking here and here and here right? Like, there's just no world we just don't get 3 people, and they're forced to get like 2 from like here, and like let's say Wukong's over here, right? Like, they just never win. It's just physically impossible unless you guys like all blow flash, we AFK, you know, we get PayPal or whatever. I don't know. We're just not taking like easily won objectives in fights. And also looking at this, actually it's not yet. It's in a minute 20. Oh, not in that one. So a whole minute and 20 seconds later, we finally get the Void Grubs, and then like as we're looking at this, like our Nunu has 1400 gold. There's nothing spawning on his red side map, and so like mid lane isn't here, so it's not like Nunu needs to actually just cross map immediately to his blue side. Just press B, go buy your fucking items so you're stronger, and then come down, and that way you have camps to clear in your bot side, right? Like, it shouldn't be that difficult, but unfortunately we're just kind of like goblin golding, and it just doesn't feel that great. And then I've already touched on the Berserker Greaves earlier, so I don't need to talk about that. 1150, which happens to be yada 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 yada. I just have where it's at. Oh, okay. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. I actually can't believe, like, we're calming a gank here, and it's like, okay, cool, like, we finally get this off, right? We get the knockup, the combo, and then, like, we just back off, and then just reset in front of this guy's face. And, like, look at this. There's an entire wave that's pushing into us, and, like, look where our wave's at. This is all one-shottable. This minion's one-shot. All of these are more or less one-shot. Like, and we don't have teleport. Look, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we lost 9 minions. Like, why are we not just getting our jungler and going, hey, thanks, dog. I'm nowhere near death. Haha. I'm just going to help you get the kill, and then we're going to push the wave, and then I'm going to reset, and he's going to miss everything because he's down teleport. Looks like a very exploitable fundamental, which is probably pretty consistent with our top laner. And he would, Olaf would miss waves and everything, and we would get XP advantages and everything else, and like we don't lose anything. And then the very last thing I wanted to talk about was like right around here. It's for the bot lane. We make a play for the Jinx, and everybody gets out, like relatively like no harm, no foul. We have 3 Void Grubs. There's only like the 1 plate left. So like, why would we not come over here and just hit this tower, right? Like, we could just come over, have 3 people with 3 Void Grubs, and just like hit it, and then burn the plate and or the tower. And that way we're actually getting like one of like the feats of strength thing, but we're also just knocking out the tower. Because if we look at the team comp, right? Whenever I understand that like we probably don't have too much of a concept on other roles and how they operate, but outside of laning phase, like one of these guys are going to have to go mid, right? And Orianna is very low mobility, and so is Jinx. So if you put either Jinx or Ori in a side lane, like, especially whenever a tier 1 tower is gone, they're fucked. Like, it's so easy for a Nunu just to snowball at them and then just kill them, right? Like, that's what they fear. But unfortunately, we don't do it right away. We do end up, like, getting it after a second. We walk up, we ward, we push the wave in, and then, like, we spell shield that, and we get the tower, right? I just think it's a little crazy to see that we don't just hit the tower as a team, stay for the wave, hit the wave, and then we can reset, and then we can just chill, you know, and continue off of these little things. But yeah, I did not cover really the rest of this because even though we were doing pretty well, there was a lot of like So I did not care too much to watch the rest of it, because even just looking at the timeline, they get like what 3 more kills and we get like fucking 15 more. So clearly it's just a wallet gap at this point. But our sloppiest is the early part of the game, so we will see what it's like going forward.